I like to start my estate planning meetings by asking my clients, what is your estate plan? And they normally say one of two things. They either say, number one, yeah, I've been meaning to get my trust and my will and the power of attorneys, just haven't got around to it. It's either that, or I have a trust and I have a will and I've got medical directives and all these different things. And then I'll go, cool, what's your estate plan? Now, I don't say it with as much attitude like that, but I'll say, what's your estate plan? And they're like, I just told you. And I'm like, no, those are just documents. What is your plan to not be 75 with $5 million angry at me because you would have wished you spent more when you had your energy and your health? And they're like, what? I go, what's your plan to minimize your tax burden by pairing charitable giving with a Roth conversion to essentially get a deduction while increasing your income to minimize your lifetime tax liability? And they're like, what? I go, estate planning is not just, do we have a document? Estate planning is really a tax question, and it goes deeper than simply trusts and wills. And yes, those things are important. And estate planning is what we're going to be discussing today. So I'm going to go through the 3 levels of estate planning so you can understand what level you're at and what you need to do to get everything in order. So if you're looking for more guidance on estate planning or tax planning or investing or withdrawal strategy or healthcare, you're in the right spot. That is what I do, and I invite you to subscribe. My name is Ari Taublieb. I am the host of the Early Retirement Podcast. I'm the vice president at Root, and I'm a certified financial planner. I'm going to go through a lot of fun stuff today that is going to help. I promise you that. But if you don't have an advisor and you still feel, hey, I need more guidance or I need a checklist, I have a resource for you. And if you have an advisor, but you don't feel like it's organized quite yet, this is going to help facilitate that conversation as well. So you can see here, it's my 2024, what issues should I consider when creating my estate plan? And it's very intuitive. And so this is involved, if you want this, as well as all my other checklists for everything, investing, estate, tax, it's all in my academy. So you can see the academy right here if you want access to these documents. So you can see here, do you need to review how you want your assets to be distributed to your heirs at death? If so, consider establishing a will and testament that spells out how you want that to occur. Be mindful, a will does not avoid probate. And so you can see it goes through a lot of different considerations. There are pages to this, and it goes into depth. So if you're like, yeah, this is what I'm looking for example, am I interested in leaving a portion of my estate to charity? If so, consider whether pledging tax inefficient assets, such as things that do not have a step up in basis, to charity. And would that be an optimal choice? And depending on your intentions, maybe you need a charitable trust. So it becomes a lot. This is often what I like to go through with my clients. So I will ask them these questions and then give them guidance to really interpret what all of this means. Today, I'm going to go a little bit more high level, but if you want more of this type of in-depth guidance, I invite you to either join the academy to get access to all of this, or you can actually just ask your advisor these questions and they should be able to help. Okay, so before I actually go into my clients and say, hey, we need to update beneficiaries and you need a trust and you need a will, I actually start by asking, how much would you love to give your child for a wedding or a down payment? And they'll say, I'd love to help out with $20,000. I said, great. This will mean if you help out all 2 or all 3 of your children in a few clients I'm thinking of right now, if you do that, you will still be on track for $6.4 million at age 90. How does that sound? And they're like, well, I think I could actually help them out more. And I go, great. How much would you love to help out if you had all the money in the world? And some clients go, you know what? I want them to pay for it. And that's important to me. Some clients go, you know what? I really want to help them out. They're doing a good job, but they don't have the funds yet. I'd love to give them $50,000. And I'll say, great. If you do that, it means you're working 4 more years. And they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to work 4 more years. I'd rather give them less. I say, great. Let's talk about that. So the point of this is my job is not to say go spend 20 or 30 or 100. My job is to go, here's the trade-off. If you give them this amount of money, here's what this means. And sometimes it's, hey, if you do this, you're still going to have plenty of money. And sometimes it's, if you do this, yeah, it means you're going to work a little longer. And most of my clients go, wow, good to know. Yep, maybe I don't give them that amount. Or you know what? I actually like what I do and I'm going to keep doing it. Might do something else, but later. But right now, this is good and I want to help them out. So my job is to help make sure that they don't essentially be sitting at their kid's wedding, go, wait a second, did I just give them too much money that it's going to jeopardize my retirement? And did I not give them enough that I'm going to have plenty of money? And why didn't I help them out when I could? So estate planning is how much can I give while I'm still alive? How do I minimize my tax burden while I'm alive so I don't just pass away with $5 million, which could have actually helped me minimize taxes along the way and things like that. So level 1 of an estate plan is, do I have my documents? So if you can look at my screen right here, and I know a lot of you are watching this on YouTube. Many of you as well, I know, might be driving, and so do not crash and don't get me in trouble, okay? So this is an estate checklist, and you don't need to look at this. I'll explain it if you're driving, which some of you are like, do people watch this while I'm driving? Yeah, you'd be surprised. There are a good amount of people that are going, yep, I'm listening to this when I work out. And so in between sets, I'll, do a bicep curl, and then I'll look and I'll go, okay. So some people said it's helpful when you tell me to look at the screen. And I just was under the assumption everyone was looking at the screen. So for this, you can see here, this is just a sample of retiree, and I just put Wanda here for a name. So for most of my clients, they'll go in here and they'll go, yep, I did that. I've got the will checked off, name of the child's there, name of the guardian, maybe that's another child. The document was updated at, 12/31/2023, whatever it is. And they're doing that with the wills and power of attorneys and all of that. Now, this is level 1. This is very basic. Do I have the documents, and does my spouse know all of this information? Because more often than not, someone comes to me and they're the one organizing and kind of spearheading the whole financial conversation, and the other spouse has no idea where things are and where do you even log in to find any of this. I'm going to discuss level 2 with you right now, but before I do, what I tell everyone is it's really weird if a spouse was like, I'm so into finances, and you're equally into it. I very rarely see that. Normally it's one person really enjoys it and the other person goes, you know what, I do enjoy it, but it's just because I want to make sure we don't run out of money. It's not like they're actually going, yeah, I need to know why the dividend strategy is this or that. Now, you might want to know that because you're watching these videos, and traditionally people that reach out to me, they're going, yeah, I want to get my spouse more involved. They're never going to like it as much as you are, but we have our engaging ways to make sure those conversations are happening. And it is important to me that a spouse understands, and where do I go for documents, because there are situations where, not fun to talk about, but if God forbid you passed away and now your spouse has all this information, one, they're going to miss you like crazy, so they're probably not going to be able to think. But two, let's assume they are, because they're just a robot, not a human. Well, now they're going to have to pay someone to go interpret these documents. So level 2 is where I joke with my clients and I go, what's your estate plan? They go, I've already got a trust and a will. I go, that's cool. In fact, normally I'll do it in a funnier way where I'll go, oh my God, that's so awesome. You won the Nobel Prize. They're like, Ari, cut it with the attitude. I'm like, okay, explain it to me. They're like, what? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, explain to me the trust and will you have. They're like, I don't know what the heck it means. I mean, I have one. I go, well, then you have jargon. You now are going to have to pay someone to interpret these documents. And I promise I say it nicer than that. But that's the truth is, hey, if it doesn't look like this, where you go, okay, scenario 1 person passes away. Assume this person passes, this person inherits, here's exactly where the money's going to move and the iPhone passwords. And okay, God, I'm going to log into here and I've got a software that's going to help me understand all of that is level 2. Level 2 is understanding your estate plan. Now, for clients working with us, we're helping them update and get all of these documents in order at no additional cost. Meaning there's a cost, but we choose to pay for it for our clients. So all documents, whether it's power of attorney or medical directives or a trust or a will, all of these documents at no additional cost are included in what we do, because when we're working with clients, we want to reduce your hassle as much as possible. So you've seen level 1. Okay, do I have the documents? Is it organized nicely? You've seen level 2, which is, okay, great. I've got documents, but do I really understand them? And now level 3 is, okay, real estate planning. Estate planning looks like this. This is a flow chart of, okay, here's our net worth, and we've got life insurance and potential inheritance. And so this is going through and saying, where are all of our monies going to move? If, God forbid, we pass away, is it going to certain heirs? How much is going? How do we minimize taxes? What about funeral expenses and probate expenses? And how does that change if we pass away at 100 instead of 90? What does that mean for the overall plan? So it's really getting a clear sense as to how assets are going to flow. And in more detail, it's almost like I want you to have a complete out of estate sheet. What does that mean? Well, my favorite story here, someone came to me and they said, Ari, there's a lot of different things here. Charitable trust and credit shelter trust and qualified terminable trust and irrevocable trust and there's so many things. What do I know which one I should use? And I said, well, there's a lot of different things, and that is why people work with advisors. But let's assume you just pick this one at the bottom here. This is donor advised fund. Someone said, okay, I think I've heard of that. I think an advisor did it for me once, and it kind of sucks, right? It doesn't suck. None of these suck. They all exist for a reason, but I laughed when they said it sucked. They're like, yeah, this one really sucks. I go, Well, like, I don't need heart medication, but I know a family friend who does. So like, it sucks for me if I had to take it, but for them, it's like amazing. So the point here is all of these things, all of these estate strategies that exist to minimize taxes, and I won't go through every single one with you, but I will give you an example of this one. They're all very intentional, and they are beautiful when executed well and horrific when not executed well. So it comes down to one word. Really, all planning, in my opinion, comes down to one word, which is timing. What is the timing of execution? So let me give you an example of this. So a donor advised fund, what does that even mean? Well, let's assume right now, and this is the reason I want to give this example, is this is a very common one that our clients and other people are using. So let's assume you bought Apple stock for $5,000 and it grew and now it's worth $50,000. Great. It went up in value by $45,000. Now let's also assume you want to give $5,000 to the Red Cross every year. You don't have to, you choose to. But you also take the standard deduction every year. You don't itemize. So if you were giving $5,000 to the Red Cross every single year and you were taking the standard deduction, you are being very nice. The Red Cross is very grateful for you doing so. You're not actually getting a tax benefit, meaning you receive your income, you pay taxes, you have $5,000 left over, you give it to the Red Cross every single year. Now let's take my alternative. Well, let's assume that you say, I still want to give $5,000 to the Red Cross every year, but is there an optimal way of doing this? And there is. And the way to think about it is if you bought Apple stock for $5 and now it's worth $50, that's $45,000 that's gone up in value. If you went and sold that Apple stock, you would have to pay taxes, and let's assume you end up with $40,000, just for the sake of argument, and you wanted to give that to the charity. Well, if you wanted to do so, you'd be very nice to do so, but you're not giving the charity as much because you could have given them 50 and now they only get 40 because you had to pay taxes. And so if you gave them $5,000 every year, they're not going to receive as much. They're only going to receive 40,000 until it comes down to the zero left versus 50,000. Not rocket science here. So the point here is what you can do is you can give that Apple stock, that appreciated position, to the Taublieb Giving Foundation. That's my last name, Taublieb, okay? Now I've heard everything from Tabbouleh to Teletubby, you name it, okay? So I do my best to pronunciate people's names correctly. Pronunciate. See, I didn't even say pronunciate correctly. So my point here is if you were to do this and give this appreciated stock position to the Taublieb Giving Foundation, if I wanted to do that, the government is going to say, Ari, you are so awesome. Oh my gosh, you are so cool. You can fund your whole soccer team. I'm just kidding. They wouldn't let me do that. And for those of you that don't know, I own a semi-professional soccer team. So with that being said, they would say you can give to any charity of your choice, and because you are so nice doing this, and you gave it to the Taublieb Giving Foundation, you can't give it to your kids, you can't give it to your partner Alice, you can't give it to your parents, you can only give it to 501c3 organizations. What we're going to do is we're going to give you a huge tax deduction this year. So I get a big tax deduction. So now the money's in my Taublieb Giving Foundation. If I wanted to, I could give $5,000 out of the Taublieb Giving Foundation every single year for 10 years, and the charity would have received $50,000. So all I did was move my appreciated stock position into the Taublieb Giving Foundation. I give the same $5,000 amount, and the charity's happier because they're like, hey, we get money for 10 years. This is better. This is cool. I'd rather, this is better than 10 years, better than 8 years. So thank you very much. Now, I also get a tax deduction for it. So most of you are like, oh, I kind of get that. That makes sense now. So I bought the stock and it went up in value. I didn't have to sell and pay taxes. I can essentially give it to a foundation of my choice, which is really your last name traditionally. And I don't need like $12 million to do this. And so most clients go, I get it. That's kind of cool. But that's level one. Level two is now going, wait a second. If I retire early and my income's really low, but I need to do Roth conversions because I heard you talk about that on some video and podcast where it said, I was going to get killed by these distributions later, these required distributions, money, they're going to force me to take more than I even need out. And if you haven't heard me talk about that, you can literally click on any of my Roth conversion videos and you'll hear me discuss it. But for the sake of argument, is you're going to have an opportunity. Let's assume you're going to become 60. Let's assume you're 50 today. And when you're 60, you're going to stop working and your income is going to be really, really low. And you're thinking, maybe I should do Roth conversions, increase my income, pay a little bit in taxes to avoid paying a lot in the future. I have my dopey cauliflower example where I explain paying a little bit in taxes, like eating a little bit of cauliflower to avoid only eating cauliflower in the future because you might want pasta and steak then. So this level two example is what if we pair it? What if you start this donor advised fund and you give this appreciated stock at the same time that you do a Roth conversion? You're like, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? Well, what if you increase your income intentionally through a Roth conversion, but in the same year, maybe you retire and your income's low. You also give an appreciated stock position, which essentially gives you a big tax deduction. In the same year, you're increasing your income. And so you're able to essentially effectively do a greater Roth conversion and minimize your future tax burden. That's level 2. Level 3, which in my opinion is the coolest thing of why someone might even do this, and this is just me going through one example, which I could do for all of these, and in the future, if you'd like me to, let me know. Please just drop in the comments if these examples and things like this are helpful. That allows me to continue to do more of these things for you. So what this would look like is all of a sudden now we have a Taublieb Giving Foundation. So let's assume in 5 years I've got a couple of kids. Now who knows if I will, but it could be the case. So let's assume that's happening. Well now if my kid's 2, they're not going to be interested in this stuff. But let's assume they're 8 or 10 one day, which hopefully if they're living and they're healthy and I haven't bench them so much if I'm their soccer coach. Just kidding. But what's going to happen is I'm going to go, hey guys, we have $5,000 as a family and we can give it to whoever we want this year. What do we want to do? Now some kids are like, give it to me. And it's like, you can't do that. And I explain it to the kid and they're like, why? I go, well, we got a tax benefit. And so we can only give it to a charity. Let's discuss it as a family. What charity do we want to give this to? So yes, it minimizes your tax burden. 2, it gets your partner, spouse, oftentimes involved in the finances because now they feel integrated and they go, well, this is a cool strategy. Like we minimized our taxes and now I get to give money to charities. And so like, wait a second, why are we even doing this conversion? And they start to get interested in finances. It's like a sneaky way of getting your partner and spouse into it. So these are the types of strategies. These are the types of stories and examples that I will do with clients when I'm discussing estate planning and going through the different levels here. So hopefully this was a helpful video to understand what are the levels of estate planning. Is 1, do we have the document set up? 2, do we understand them? And 3, what are these next level strategies to really minimize our tax burden? And then I really take it a step further, and really my level 4 is going, what's your plan to not die with so much money that you regret it? How much can we spend? In estate planning, then it gets integrated into the withdrawal strategy, which is how much can we take out? But we don't want to die with $5 million. We also don't want to like really cut it close. How much can we take out? And that's the type of planning we're doing with our clients. So if you have, currently we have a minimum, not forever, but right now a temporary minimum of $2 million to work with us. And if you don't have that, or you're going to have that one day, but just don't yet, I have this academy. In this academy, you can receive access to all of these workflows. And so when I'm talking about these different checklists here, you can see it on my screen here. What are these issues to consider estate planning? And all of these things that hopefully will give you the guidance to understand what should I consider looking at, what should I not consider looking at, and hopefully help you along the way. In addition to receiving access to what I'm looking at right here. So if you're looking at this right here going, I want this level of, flow chart and comparison, and I want to be able to understand, where are the beneficiaries and how much would go if this happened, and just kind of putting in notes for my spouse. If something happened, I want to be able to add notes and do all of this type of planning. Well, you can go ahead and do that. It also has a vault feature. So this is a vault feature that allows you to upload important documents. A shared folder means I can see it and my clients can see it. A private folder means only my clients can see it. So most of my clients go, my spouse knows if God forbid something happens, they're going to log in and see everything right here. So hopefully guys, this estate planning video was helpful, and I'll see you next time.